Hi there, thanks for your time. Today, we'd like to share a story between Disney Plus and ScyllaDB, especially for how ScyllaDB can help us save our cost and with our business. Next, please. This is today's agenda. First, we will start with some user story, and then based on this user story, we will have a discussion about why we use ScyllaDB and what investigation we did for other databases. Next. And a little bit introduction about myself. I'm Yichen, and I joined Hulu, now Disney, for many years. I have built a lot of distributed systems for different purposes, like the machine learning platform, HPC application, and also microservices. And meanwhile, I am the evangelist for different domains, like the HTAB databases, and some new languages like Rust, Zig, or Hare. And also, I'm a fan of functional programming and category theory. Since I'm a Rustian, and of course, I like WebAssembly. Yeah. Next, let me introduce my partner, Adam.
Thanks, Yichen. My name is Adam Drennan. I've been with Disney for about 3 years now. I'm a backend software engineer with a focus on high availability, low latency distributed systems. And I'm also a strong proponent of using Kotlin for backend development. And so now I'm going to talk a little bit about our use case and why we were looking for new database options. So Yichen and I are on the user state and customizations team, and we were looking for a new database to support architecture changes that help with two existing features. So the first feature is pause resume functionality, which simply put states that if you are watching a show, you pause it and you want to resume it later, you can pick up where you left off. And this is cross-device and cross-region. So for example, if you start a show on your laptop, get on a plane, fly across the country, and then pick back up on your phone, you have your spot saved. And this same data also supports watch state, which allows a user to track whether they've seen a show before. So here's a simple architecture diagram for the system. The Disney Plus client sends heartbeat events every 30 seconds with the updated playhead position of the show. Then these events are sent into the underlying database. Note that the Edge pipeline loads events in the same region as the user, and the Authority pipeline combines events from all different regions. And that times 5 up there just shows that there are 5 separate regions. Also, we wanted to preserve separation between the Authority and Edge regions, so we weren't looking for any database-specific replication mechanism across these. And then lastly, the data must be fetched and served back to the clients to support online playback. So to support this architecture, we had a few requirements and goals. The main requirement was that the user experience should see no regression. So the system needed to remain highly available with low latency reads to serve online requests, and it needed to be able to scale easily based on traffic needs. This also meant certain components such as observability and replication were very important to us. The second requirement was the ability to find a cloud-first solution on AWS. We wanted to keep things simple and easy to integrate with our AWS services, and we wanted to avoid needing any extensive infrastructure setup or DBA work. And assuming we could meet those two requirements, one of our main goals was reduced overall cost. Our existing infrastructure had the data spread across various clusters of DynamoDB and Elasticache. So we really wanted something simple that could combine these into a much lower cost system. And so here are some of the specifics of what we were looking for. To support peak traffic, we wanted a database that could handle upwards of 170K writes per second. And if you've used DynamoDB, you know that WCUs are the main driving force behind the cost. So this was very important to us and one of the main metrics we were looking at to try to reduce this. The updates are nearline and didn't have a strict SLA, but we did need to be able to perform conditional updates based on event timestamp. On the read side, we needed to support RPS of 78K with a rough P99 read latency of 10 to 20 milliseconds. And also, our use case only needed to support simple point queries, so we weren't as worried about indexes or partitioning or complicated query patterns. And then lastly, our database needed to support about 10 terabytes of data with room for growth. And so now I'll hand it back over to Yichen, and he'll go through some of our database choices.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, next I will talk about the investigation we did for the databases. Choose a right database is not easy. If you take a look at the dbdb.io, there are almost 1,000 databases in the world. And there are many factors we need to consider about the databases. For example, maintenance is a problem for a business-driven team like us. And also, cloud is another problem for a team like us wants to control both SLO and the costs. Also, there are a lot of trade-offs. Besides that, there are also many database features we have to consider about carefully. For example, the geolocation, is a database in one region or multi-region. And also some database features like transaction, SQL support, and CDC also will become a key perspective to choose a right database. Next, please. In Disney, almost all services are in AWS Cloud. So our first thought is to use some built-in databases in the cloud. Then Aurora becomes the first candidate because it's a general database for different query patterns. Moreover, because of its computing storage separation design, the data size won't be an issue anymore compared to MySQL. And Aurora has some new features like multi-primary write serverless, which are also very impressive. Though considering our write throughput and the rate latency requirements, we cannot use Aurora, even we downgrade the isolation level. Next, please. Okay, then comes the second. Our second option is DynamoDB. An interesting fact is that ScyllaDB is more like Dynamo than DynamoDB itself. Yeah, here, the Dynamo, I mean that the paper written 17 years ago. The data structure in DynamoDB is very similar to the column family which used in Cassandra and ScyllaDB. And the DynamoDB can support our requirements perfectly with the design of the partition key and the sort key. Though based on our data size and throughput, DynamoDB is kind of burning the money. Last year in re-event, Dr. Warner talked about the frugal architecture. Then we decided not using DynamoDB because of the frugal architecture. Next, please. We also invested other databases like the SQL databases, NoSQL, NewSQL, and the distributed SQL databases. The boundary between NoSQL and the NewSQL is blurred in nowadays. 10 years ago, it was called NoSQL, which means there's no SQL query. But now it's not the case anymore. Right now, the NoSQL means not only SQL. We did find some really interesting databases in the NewSQL and the distributed SQL domain, which like Cockroach, TiDB, YugaBackDB, which have a good multi-region scalability. Though, sadly, the maintenance work makes it hard to us. Next, please. Okay, last I want to mention about Cassandra. We are still using Cassandra heavily for our legacy services. We have a dedicated DBA team to maintain the Cassandra cluster for both cloud and on-prem data centers. Cassandra indeed can meet the performance requirements for our business, but we also met a lot of troubles in Cassandra cluster. Next, please. Most of the trouble came from the JVM. For instance, we have to upgrade or tune the garbage collector in different infrastructures. The behavior is different between on-prem machines and the EC2 instance. Not to mention, there are some CPU and memory architecture differences. For example, we used to have an issue that the performance in NUMA-based machines, which the performance is worse than non-NUMA-based machine. And then, of course, we have to take extra time to tune the garbage collector in different machines. Also, the Cassandra didn't utilize the feature from modern hardware like RDMA, DPDK, etc. Next, Adam will introduce our use cases with ScyllaDB.
Thanks, Yichen. So, based on our requirements for write performance and cost and our experience with Cassandra, we decided to explore ScyllaDB and do a proof of concept. And so here's just a quick reminder of our architecture, and we wanted to kind of create a POC that would match this as closely as possible. So the Scylla team helped us create a test cluster, and they recommended sizing based on our needs and recommended 6x I4I 4x large nodes with a replication factor of 3. We then preloaded the cluster with 3 billion records and ran combined load tests based on our metrics that we mentioned earlier. Wanted to note that we use a Java application since that's what we use in production, and we're able to use the shard-aware driver provided by Scylla, which has some features that make it more enhanced than the regular DataStax driver. Also, as a reminder, our queries were simply point queries based on the composite primary key, so we didn't need to do much work around that. For our writes, we were able to rely on custom query timestamps instead of the more expensive lightweight transactions for our conditional updates. So that was a big win for us and something that the Scylla team helped us discover and use. And then lastly, we were able to monitor metrics using the Scylla Cloud Grafana dashboard that they provided. So during our load test, we initially had some higher read spikes at peak load, but we were able to work with the Scylla team and they suggested a few tweaks so that we could improve. One was to set the speculative retry to 7 milliseconds. This helped our reads so that if a node didn't respond within 7 milliseconds, it would automatically retry to other nodes and lower that P99 sum. And then I think the bigger issue that we were having is that we had unbounded concurrent requests. And so the Scylla team saw excessive queuing on our reads and suggested throttling those max concurrent requests. It took some fine tuning, but we eventually settled on 4 and were able to hit the results that we wanted. So in the final results, we were able to hit the combined load with no errors, which had a P99 read latency of 9 milliseconds and a P99 write latency of less than 1 milliseconds. So after this, we considered the POC a success, and we enjoyed our experience working with the Scylla team who helped us achieve this. So now I'm going to let Yichen talk about some of the other features that we liked about Scylla as we did our exploration.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah. As you can know, here are some features that we really like in ScyllaDB. First and the most important, the performance. Yeah, it can help us reducing the maintenance time and the cost. I want to shout out for the C* library used in ScyllaDB as for the fundamental, which has a lot of hardware-aware features for the performance, like NUMA-aware, DPDK, etc. Next, I want to mention the ICS, which is incremental compaction strategy in ScyllaDB, which can help us to reduce the write amplification a lot. Also, I want to mention the share nothing architecture in ScyllaDB driver, that ScyllaDB has a share-aware client driver that can help us to reducing the coordinator network round trip, which can make the latency even less. Yeah, besides the performance, We also use a flexible consistent level to support our different user cases between the authority side and the edge side, just as described like in Adam's just like the slides above. Yeah. In authority side, we use quorum for the data consistency, though in edge side, we use a consistent level of 1 because of the data duplication and the large throughput. Next, please. Also, there are also other features like we really like. For example, the WebAssembly integration for the UDF, the CDC, and also some customized timestamp. All these features are really useful for us. Next, please. Beyond that, ScyllaDB Cloud provided different options for the integration. We are using the build your own cloud pattern in ScyllaDB Cloud for zero maintenance, which saved tons of money and efforts for the maintenance work to the cluster. Also, the good news is that the ScyllaDB Cloud also supports the Terraform, which we can use the code and infrastructure to maintain our infrastructure clearly. Next, please. Yeah, as you can see, like the 6-star can support some infrastructure improvements, and we hope that in the future, the ScyllaDB Cloud can also provide some information features like the DPDK, the SAI in Cassandra, or customer storage index interfaces, so that we can use these different features for different business logic. Okay, next, please. Yeah, that's almost all for this sharing, and this is some takeaways. Choose a database is hard. There's no one to rule them all. You need to consider not only the features, but also the costs, maintenance efforts, and evolution in the future as well. If you want to choose a database in a cloud, that makes it even harder. And serverless is not a silver bullet, especially in database domain. In our case, because of the high throughput and the low latency requirements, serverless probably not an option. Last but not the least, hardware will play an important role in the database domain. The kernel is so old, but the hardware is fast. We want to utilize more hardware features in the future to reduce our cost and to improve our service performance. Yeah, that's all for today's session, and thank you very much. Let's stay in touch.